in Hickory,
Right.
because let's face it, the mentor and mentee relationship can be a win-win situation. It helps, as I said, the mentor grow, the mentee grow, but having somebody like a Steve Herring serving in my church for 3 months in the summer or for a year,
Yes.
that is a huge help to me and my congregation. I mean, it's win-win-win.
Yes, it is.
And so I told Stephen, I said, look, if you are interested in being an intern with us this summer, I said, we will find the money. I don't know how, I don't know where, but we'll find it one way or the other. And no need to go into all the details of how we found it, but to make a long story short, our fellowship, our denomination was able to come up with the money, which is, I think, so critical in mentoring these young people like this. Most things worthwhile today require resources and require money, and I thank God that Charles out in Glendora, was able to come up with the money to help fund that. But it was just a great summer with Stephen. He came and spent a whole week with me at my house. He wasn't able to move to Hickory, but he lives in South Carolina. But he came and spent a week with me. I brought him to our leadership meeting with me. He spoke in our church. We traveled to the district conference together. A lot of great conversation taking place, in the car, and we went to the Y and worked out together. Stephen's big into staying. That's one thing he enjoys. He doesn't play golf. I do. But I said, you know what? He enjoys going to the Y and working out. Hey, let's go to the Y and work out together. Let's sit in the sauna and talk, and in the hot tub. Let's have a good time together.
And I think, let me interrupt just a second. I think that's an important point that you as the mentor recognize. Instead of making him adjust to what you want to do, you made the adjustment for him.
Absolutely.
And I really understand you guys have a heart, because people have poured into your lives, and I can tell that you've got a heart to want to pour back into the lives of others. That's that 2 Timothy 2:2 that we were talking about, of that whole concept of growth. It's interesting that we haven't talked a whole lot about preaching and counseling. That's part of it too. You mentioned the exposure that you gave to Stephen, and these guys had a world of experience in being able to preach and to lead leadership teams and to be involved in those things too. But it's interesting to me to understand more about how it's important to have the lives merging together. I think of when Christ said that the sheep hear the voice of the shepherd, they even recognize the smell of the shepherd. That is a life-on-life experience where your families even are coming together, your personal lives are being intertwined, and it really is an investment of a relational nature. So, do you guys have any final comments as we wrap this up?
Yeah, I would say I think one of the reasons why you find so much mentoring in the Bible, and the reason that mentoring works so well in training leaders, is because God has eternally existed as Father, Son, and Spirit in relationship. So it makes no sense that His creation would be made in a way that's antithetical to His own being. We are relational beings.
Yes.
And we relate, and we learn when we relate. And that's the best way to learn, is in the context of relationship.
Yeah. We're going with the flow that God created from the beginning.
Right.
That's a great comment, Bill. Jonathan, anything?
And to not be afraid of the risks that have to be taken. And I won't go into a lot of detail, but very soon after Greg and I entered into our relationship, we found ourselves in some very risky situations. For example, the only other elder in the congregation left.
Yeah.
And so instead of 3 elders, we now had me and Greg. And Greg had extensive responsibilities, a circuit of, at one point, 2 churches and a church plant. So Greg had to take some risk and let me minister without him around to watch me do it.
And no safety net.
And no safety net. And then come back and debrief afterwards,
Yeah.
So that was a risk for him to take. It was a risk for the congregation to take, to let someone so young and inexperienced take on perhaps more responsibility than in a normal situation you would give an intern. But to trust that in the very real sense we do have a safety net, in the Father, Son, and Spirit, in whose life we're included, and they are watching over and superintending this whole process. So it's not to say that every risk you take will work out wonderfully, but they've got to be taken.
Yes.
Because to live in relationship as we're created to live, we've got to be willing to open up and risk some hurt.
Yes.
And the Trinity has certainly done that in the Incarnation. And Jesus risked hurt and was hurt. But see how much good has come from that risk, even in the bad and the good. So just the willingness to trust and believe that Jesus will take care of you, and you can take these risks to open your life up to other people in that relationship.
That's a great comment.
I just want to say that, I didn't have the, I've been mentored my entire life by different people, and first and foremost by my dad. I mean, when I think of mentors in my life, I think of first and foremost my dad. And the things that he taught me growing up, not because he sat down and said, Paul David, okay, this is how you need to do this, this, and that, and so on and so forth, but just by watching him and listening to him and seeing how he interacted with other people, and sometimes for good, sometimes not for good, but still you're learning.
Yes.
And I think about Greg, you as a mentor. I didn't have the opportunity when I became a pastor to quote unquote serve under someone as an intern. I didn't have that opportunity, if you will. And I'm very thankful for people like you that, reached across counties. Here I was we were both in North Carolina, but you were in a church 3 hours from me. But you took every opportunity that you could to teach and to lead and to spend time with me and to invest your life in me, and through the festival in Myrtle Beach, giving me opportunities to work with you down there, and always in the midst of a lot of golf going on. I'm convinced that's the only reason we had the festival in Myrtle Beach, was the golf courses. But
we have to edit that out, but that's okay.
But
no, that's real.
But talking about the baton, I'll never forget you passing that baton off to me.
Yeah.
With the director of camp at Higher Ground, and I think it's so. I love trying to see the potential in people, and sometimes, sometimes with some people you have to look hard, you have to look deep to see that potential. But I believe all of us, if we're going to have the opportunity to mentor people, if God is going to use us in that capacity, I think that we have to have that eternal optimism about people, and we have to see that there is indeed a diamond in the rough here.
Yeah.
And
that's that risk taking.
That's that risk taking,
Right.
because the risk is you can pour your life into somebody and it not happen the way that you thought it would, or maybe not happen in your lifetime, or it may take somebody else to come along and water it a little bit more, or whatever. But it's such a blessing to have people that come into our life, that invest their lives and their time in us, and then the blessing then is to take that and go pass it on, pay it forward, do it with somebody else.
Well, and that's the goal. That's why we're even doing this conversation, is we're hoping that through Generations Ministry and our teaching program we call Journey with the Master, it's a series of weekend intensives. We're wanting to identify out of our camp group some of the ones who want to go deeper and further into ministry, and we really would like to be, as you said earlier, intentional about creating some situations where we're able to match up these emerging leaders with some seasoned leaders that would be a good match for them. So that ultimately is where we're wanting to go with this. And so if you're out there listening and you're one of those people, get in touch with us, and we'll see what we can do about being able to put you in a spot.